What's up, everybody? My name is Sam Elsner. I'm your host for the Strength Pages podcast, as well as the head organizer of the Strength Pages book club. We're here together to learn, lift, and lead. All right. This is the kickoff episode. It's exciting. It's finally happening. I'll let you know that this is something that I've been wanting to do for a bit, and it's been a lot of self doubt, a lot of self criticism on whether or not this would be even good or if I'd be even good. And you know what? I said, fuck it. We're going straight into it. And this is going to be kind of a little organized to a point, but also this is just a journey. I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to make a lot of mistakes along the way. So please bear with me. So with it being the kickoff event, I'm going to kind of dive into a little bit about who I am so you can get a better understanding of, where I'm coming from, my understanding, my background, all of that, as well as we're going to talk about the vision, the understanding, and, the why behind the Strength Pages book club. All right. So let's dive right into it. So let us start it out with me. All right. Who I am. Well, like I mentioned, my name is Sam Elsner. I'm just a typical Midwestern guy. I grew up in, Portage, Wisconsin, which is a little bit north of Madison, Wisconsin. But, my wife will tell me many, many times, and she'll correct me. No, I'm actually from what is called Partyville. That's P-A-R-D-E-E, not party, P-A-R-T-Y-ville. That would be kind of crazy, but also it'd be kind of funny to just say, hey, I'm from Partyville. All we do is party. So from a small town in Wisconsin, it's where I grew up originally. And I've been a strength and conditioning coach, sports scientist, high performance coach, skill acquisition coach, for almost 10 years. And, wanted to start something new and actually start making a difference in the health, human, and sports performance realms. I'll dive a little bit deeper into where all this came from and a little bit more about me. So I started being an athlete back in middle school where I primarily played football, and I was always curious about the human body. I wanted to improve it somehow, make it healthy, resilient, and just be able to last longer. I'll say at the time that I was in middle school, I didn't know it was called adaptation. I didn't know any of these principles about all the adaptation, the said principle, any of that. But I knew whenever you applied something, some type of stress to the body, it would react to it. I knew that part. Played football in middle school, played football in high school, but I was introduced to track and field in high school where freshman year I was on varsity for being a sprinter. But then things changed from my freshman to sophomore year where I became a thrower in the discus and shot put. And why I became a thrower is because I gained 35 to 40 pounds over the summer. I hit a huge growth spurt and I was just like, you know what, screw it, we're going right. We're going to do it. Had a pretty successful career high school in track and field, and I went on to compete at UW Stout, which is a smaller Division III school. It's on the border of Minnesota and Wisconsin. I competed in track and field there as well. And my intention of going into college was I wanted to go into the sports medicine realm because I had some type of injury in high school where I had patellar tendonitis, and I wanted to know why. Why did I get that? So I shadowed a bunch of athletic trainers, doctors, all of that, just to get into the realm of just sports medicine, rehabilitation, all of that. I was able to shadow actually a ACL repair surgery. So I got to see that in the waiting room and watch that a little bit when I was 17, 18 years old, which was really cool. It was fascinating. It never really bothered me. from like surgery standpoint or anything, but I thought it was really cool. Then when I was at Stout, I went in, wanted to be sports medicine. And after a year and a half at Stout, I transferred to the University of Minnesota. I wanted to compete at the Division I level, and my goal was to make the Olympics. Like, I had high hopes, high standards for myself as an athlete, and I wanted to be at the top. So I wanted to compete at the Division I level. Transferred to the University of Minnesota, and I was very fortunate to have Cal Dietz as my strength coach at the time. He was like at the tail end of his time working with swimming and track and field before wholeheartedly and fully committing to men's and women's hockey. But I had him for a year and a half, and that was life-changing for me, because that's where I switched from rehabilitation, sports medicine, to training athletes and being in the sports performance realm. Because I was exposed to triphasic training, and what happened was I saw my performance just skyrocket. I gained another 30 to 50 pounds. I went into Minnesota, I remember, at 210 pounds, and I was only at Minnesota for a year and a half before I transferred back to Stout. But during my year and a half, I ended at 255 pounds. And how I knew that this was the realm for me to be in is because I went from a box jump, like a one-step approach box jump of 40 inches to 62 after a year and a half of doing triphasic training, which was astronomical. And I was throwing weight around like it was nothing. I felt strong, invincible, all of that. I transferred back to UW Stout after a year and a half. Just there were some coaching conflicts, coaching issues, and I was kind of going through a little bit of a mental health as well. So I transferred back and finished my days out there. I interned under a company called ETS for my last 2 years of my undergraduate. ETS is a pretty predominant sports performance company here in the Midwest. They predominantly in Minnesota. They originate from there, but they're spread out through Wisconsin, the Midwest. They're making their way more into the NFL cities. They're expanding. I interned with the coach there that they had a contract with. So I learned a lot about coaching a little bit, but not about programming or the science side of things. After I was done with Stout, I went back to the University of Minnesota as an intern under Cal. That's kind of where things took off even more with just my thinking and like where I wanted to go in life. This is where it really opened my eyes to knowing that the Dunning-Kruger effect was real. I got done with my undergraduate degree. My main course that I went through was Administration of Strength and Conditioning. And I was taught directly from the CSCS textbook and all that. So I thought I was like, oh, I know adaptation. I know all that, blah, 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 blah. Go to this internship. I absolutely knew nothing. It was insane. It was kind of a humbling experience because my colleagues in this internship cohort, they had a lot of different experiences versus me. I had the hands-on athletic experience, but they were in graduate school getting their master's, or some of them were actually just like, I want to intern with Cal, and already have had a pretty successful career already as coaches. So during that time, I felt this community. So I was able to pick their brains, pick Cal's brain, pick the paid intern's brain too, who was Cam Rosano at the time. I believe he's at Butler now. Very smart dude, very humbling experience working with him as well. But it was awesome. That's kind of where I learned so much about just sports science, data analysis, as well as adaptation, triphasic training, all of that. Laid a good foundation for myself, as well as this this concept of what is I took from the book Steal Like an Artist, as well as Show Your Work from Austin Kleon, is be an amateur. Like that means don't be afraid to experiment, to try new things, make mistakes. You learn from them. Just kind of like how with this podcast, I'm first one, me doing by myself, me hosting, and it's going to probably be all over the place. So I'm going to learn. So please bear with me. But that's where I really learned the amateurism mindset was at this internship, because Cal is really well known for just trying new things and running with it. If it works, awesome. If it doesn't, still cool. Like, he learned from it. So after I was done with the internship, I went on to be a director of athletic development at a volleyball club, which was a pretty prolific volleyball club here in the States. Junior volleyball club, I should say. So that was my first experience working with youth athletes, and I was exposed to a lot of different methodologies as well of long-term athletic development. So that kind of solidified another foundation for me. I was working with, I started out as an assistant there, but then I got promoted to the director there, and I learned a lot about coaching. And that was also another humbling experience. I went from working with about 100 athletes to 300 plus, and I had to program for all of them, and ranging from 8 years old to 18 years old. It was crazy. It was awesome too. Unfortunately, my tenure there was pretty short because that's when COVID happened. We all went through that. That was a really weird experience for everybody. Then I went on to do a tenure at Starter Sports Training, which is a private baseball softball club, where I really dove into sports science and being an athletic development coach there. But that's where I really met Tyler Yerby, Sean Mishka, and Rich White of Emergence, which is a sport movement skill acquisition company. Tyler and I talked to this very day. Him and I are very good buddies, who hopefully in the near future might be a guest on the podcast here, but I'll let you know. But that's really where my career diverted into skill acquisition and skill development, and really opened my eyes to just like sport movement in general and like the transferability of training to sport. Because ultimately that's what we want to do as coaches in this realm, is we want our training or what we're doing to transfer to sport or transfer to whatever we're doing. So learned a lot of different theories, practical applications, all of that. Went from starters to St. Olaf College, where I was a coach there. Went from there to Future Fit, which is an online personal training company. And then I went there to a hockey performance place, and then we're here right now. So I've been all over. I've had a lot of different experiences, a lot of core moments that I've learned from. And all of that kind of led me to really starting this community of strength pages. And the idea, the vision behind strength pages is to grow a community of high-performing individuals and thinkers to challenge the status quo in the health, human, and sports performance realms. Because these realms really don't have a governing body that tells them, like, hey, this is how we should do things based off of principles and stuff like that. I think there should be at some level, but I think this community, whether it takes off or not, which I'm hoping it does, obviously, deep down, I'm hoping that this community grows, but if it doesn't, so what? I'm totally fine with it. I think that we need to develop high-performing thinkers in these realms, because there's a lot of information out there that can be misconstrued and misinterpreted that I think can make flawed systems. And when we're taking this information, we obviously can run with our own ideas and whatnot, but we need to have high performing thinkers to come up with these science data based programs that work, all right, and are adaptable. I've met many coaches, I've had coaches in the past who have written out programs for the whole year, and that's what you're sticking to. When I was at Stout, I'm going to say this is what happened. Like, I was given my strength and conditioning book from day one, and it went until June. That's what we did day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, all of that. That's what it was, and there was no deviating from it. And as humans, we are very, very good at adapting. It's either we thrive or we survive. We're always trying to survive, and we're constantly adapting. So if we can understand that we're adapting all the time, we can, as coaches, as practitioners, or professionals in these fields, we need to be able to adapt. Okay? And Strength Pages is all about that. We are challenging each other. We are growing with one another. We're lifting each other up, and we are trying to lead this movement. All right? We're trying to learn, lift, lead. And Strength Pages is not just a book club. That's just a very minute aspect of this whole thing. Yes, we talk about a book each month and whatnot. We come together, we discuss our key takeaways, but at those monthly meetups that we have, we're not just discussing it, but we're learning how to apply it. We're questioning each other. We're trying to grow each other and try to not convince each other that what you are saying is right or I'm wrong. It's questioning it to get different perspectives. And that's something that needs to change in these fields, because there are egos in these fields that need to go away. Okay? And different perspectives need to be seen. I've seen coaches that have, and even CEOs and owners of companies tell me, hey, this is what we're doing because this is what worked 30 years ago or when I was an athlete back in high school. We're doing this. And these egos from the higher ups are telling us how to do things when we know everything, or quote unquote, everything about adaptation and response, all of that. And that I'm sick of it. I've been through it enough where I have studied and researched enough, and there were times when I was going to coaches or owners with literally a packet or a full presentation on like, hey, this is what we should be doing, or this is where I'm thinking of programming. And they're like, nope, because I don't like it, or I don't believe it. It's an ego thing. And Strength Pages is trying to cut ego out of it. And we're not trying to bash each other. That's another thing too, of where my method or my idea is better than yours and yours is stupid. No, we're trying to challenge each other. Be like, okay, normally it'd be like, okay, that's a very unorthodox way of thinking, or that's a weird idea. Why are you thinking that way? Or like understanding their perspective, not saying that's dumb and whatnot. And I'll be completely honest. I was like that in the past. I always thought it was like, that's a dumb idea. Why the hell would I use that? Now I'm like, okay, that was kind of rude of me, and I got to understand where they're from, where their scenario is right now. Like, they might be in a different facility than I am, which is 9 times out of 10 the case. But we need to take in each other's perspectives, learn from one another, be able to lift each other up, and lead this movement. I'm going to say it time in and time out. Like, that is our tagline. It's learn, lift, lead. All right. Went off on a tangent. I'm going to say that, like, it's going to happen. So yeah, that is what Strength Pages is all about. That is the vision. All right. We have a slowly growing community here, and it's mostly on Discord. That's where like we operate. And if you join, you'll see it. We're communicating with one another. We're questioning each other. Actually, in one of our channels, we put in a rule saying, okay, we at least have to be devil's advocate at least once when a new topic comes in. We actually call it hot takes. So we bring in a controversial like idea, method, whatever it may be, or topic, and we got to play devil's advocate. Somebody has to. And like we like not fight each other or one up each other. It's like, okay, but what if this? Okay, have you considered this? It's actually really cool. It's awesome. It's actually pretty fulfilling as the organizer of it, but it's like I'm learning so much from other coaches, and I'm hoping that that's the being reciprocated. So yeah, to talk about a little bit more about strength pages, kind of like what's going on currently. This month for March, our book of the month is How We Learn to Move by Dr. Rob Gray. Rob Gray is an expert in the world of skill acquisition and sport movement. He's actually a professor at Arizona State University, and he hosts his own show, the Perception and Action podcast, which I've listened to countless times. And I got introduced to Rob by Tyler Yerby and Sean Mishka. Just listening to his podcast has been pretty prolific, and his work is awesome. How We Learn to Move is his first book that he has, and he has a couple other books that he has written and has published. And maybe down the line, those will be future book of the month, but we're starting out in the beginning. What this book really does, it introduces individuals into the realm of sport movement and skill acquisition. And I'll say this, when learning this concept or diving into this realm, the terminology is like, it sounds advanced, but Rob does a really good job of breaking it down and making it digestible. And some of the theories in there, you're going to dive into what is the theory of ecological dynamics. And it's a very eye-opening book, and it takes things to a whole new level when it comes towards that transferability aspect. So we're diving into that this month. On the next episode, we're going to actually have Rob Gray on the show, and we're going to kind of just dive right into, his work, the world of sport movement, skill acquisition, all of that. Last month, we talked about triphasic training numero dos, which was, we all know that's written by Cal Dietz and Mike Nelson. So we just went through that. One thing you'll get to is when you join the book club or join Strength Pages in general, you'll get book summaries, you'll get the material if it is available to us. So you can actually go back, read it and whatnot if you want to add to your own personal library, as well as those book summaries so we can touch on those action items. What I try to do with these action items or these summaries is try to take the information, make it into digestible tidbits so you can apply it immediately. Because reading is cool. I heard it all the time from people who are prolific readers. Even my wife, like I joke with her quite a bit. She reads books left and right. Like she's gone through like 5 or 6 books within a span of 2 weeks. I'm a slow reader, and I'm building that skill up. But my perspective is if you read all those books, but you can't apply it, if it's like in this setting, then it's kind of useless. It's just going in one ear, out the other. Anyway, so that is the kickoff episode. All right. I hope y'all learned something, are excited. Please, please, please like, share, subscribe, whatever it is, the typical thing that people say. Please sign up for the Strength Pages Book Club. Link is in the description. You can always find us on strength.pages on Instagram, also on Threads, Strength Pages Book Club on YouTube as well, where this episode will be in the video format on YouTube as well. We're going to be on Spotify, so you can listen to us as well. So yeah, Join the Strength Pages Book Club. We're going to learn, lift, and lead our way to a new status quo, new standard in the health, human, and performance fields. You have a good day now. Bye.